What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Everything Paranormal Show. I'm your host, Josh Morris, and joining me tonight is a very special guest, Jeff Santos. Hope I said your last name right. From Virginia Paranormal Investigations, or do you guys like to say VAPI or VAPI?
We hear VAPI quite often, and we kind of get a kick out of it.
Okay, well, I just always ask because I always see the VAPI, so I'm like VAPI. I'm from
Right.
Michigan originally, so we say a few things kind of weird, anyways. But anyways, guys, welcome Jeff Santos to the show. Jeff, I've been looking forward to having you on here. I want to brag about you some because, folks, if you guys follow my show, you know that one of the things I'm very adamant about is real paranormal researchers, actual people that try to do good investigations and don't go around and fake stuff. These guys have stuck to their guns. They've stuck to their roots. They've organically grown. They're pretty big, but they're great. I love these guys. Folks, give it up for Jeff. And Jeff, why don't you tell the folks a little bit more about yourself and Virginia Paranormal?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Josh. I really appreciate you having me on the show here tonight. Well, Virginia Paranormal, it's an organization that I started about 13 years ago, 2008, roughly. And we started out just with our love of the paranormal, of going out and exploring the unknown. And some of us were in the law enforcement industry, per se. So we kind of put an analytical mindset to the investigations. We'd go out with the mindset to try to see if we could find any rational explanation of what was going on. And ever since then, we kept it honest. We did. Our interest was big in history, to start off with history, connected history and the paranormal, which we loved.
Right. How is your team? I know it's evolved over probably the time, I'm sure. So currently, what's your team look like right now? How many people, or, do you want to shout out to them real quick?
Sure. Yeah. Currently, we have a total of 6 members, and we have some here and there that we interview now and then. Some come and go. But Linda's my main counterpart here on the team. We couldn't do much without her there to manage and to analyze all the evidence. She's the one that sits down and goes over all the audio. We have 2 Wills on our team, and they're both great guys. One of them's our lead researcher, and he kind of looks into the history of the place before we go into it. And the other one's fairly new, but he's been to every investigation so far. And Emily's our other investigator, and she's been great too. We have a couple that are here and there, like I said, but that's the bulk of the team right now as it stands.
Well, so and just in the comments, hey Tata, he said, hey Jeff. I'll throw that up there real quick, but yeah, the so where did it really begin for you personally? Like the whole interest in paranormal.
It was ever since I was a kid. I've always been interested in ghosts and the unknown, and not just that aspect of it, but every aspect. Talk about aliens and Bigfoot, everything. So as soon as I was old enough to drive, I grew up in Delaware, not far from a place called the Brandywine Valley. So there was something about these dark roads that you could just kind of get lost on. They were eerie. There were urban legends out there. We just spent all night driving around on these roads, and it just became a passion of ours, like learning the ghost stories and kind of the excitement of going to these places. As a teenager, it's not really serious. It's just, but we weren't out there really goofing off either. We're out there having a good time,
Right.
looking to see if there was anything there and observing. And it kind of grew from there. The team started officially when I was in the Air Force, and a gentleman named Scott. I met up with him on a pre-deployment training, and he was previously with the paranormal team in Whiteman, Missouri. And he suggested, hey, we should get together, and when we get back to the stateside and start our own team and go out to some places. And we did, and it all just kind of snowballed from there.
Nice, and I'm glad to hear. Thank you for your service. I too
Thank
am
you.
actually Air Force, so hey.
Oh, great. Thank
Right.
you for your service.
Oh, yeah, I was actually stationed out at Eglin Air Force Base in Florida for most of my time. So, all right. So when you guys got formed and everything, one thing I noticed is that when you guys do investigations and you package it all together for your folks, you upload it as Virginia Paranormal Case Files. So, folks, if you want to see their investigations, definitely those files for sure. So tell me a little bit about your investigation style for those, for when you go out and do an investigation.
Sure. Well, the paranormal case files, they encompass our residential investigations, which is what we primarily do now. And for those that aren't familiar, what it is, it's people's houses. We go out to investigate their houses when they have strange things going on. And I just want to throw it out there. There's no charge for any of this. We don't feel it's ethical to charge these people. So all the travel is out of pocket. But we go out and we investigate their houses. We sit down with the client. And sometimes what we'll do is I'll sit down with the client and I'll get the story, and the rest of the team will wait outside. Now, it's not that any of these guys are psychics or anything like that, but there are certain times where the client will discuss a certain feeling in a particular room, or, a certain heaviness. So we'll have the team kind of go through unbiased to get a feel for the place and see if they kind of correlate where they're feeling the activity, or where they're feeling a heaviness, or if they're feeling anything strange in the same place that the client was. But we start off with, we go through, we do our baseline sweeps, we monitor everything in the atmosphere. And one big thing we check for is carbon monoxide, because carbon monoxide in the house, it's even in a science journal from way back that whole family was hallucinating, seeing ghosts, and they traced it to a faulty furnace. So they fixed the furnace and they weren't seeing the ghost anymore. So we do that to rule that out as any kind of possibility, to more solidify any possible evidence that we might get.
Now, just real quick on the carbon monoxide, that kind of interests me because I had heard about stuff like that, but I had always assumed that the monoxide detectors would pick it up. But is there something in between, like a normal carbon monoxide tester, and then is there like an in between limit, or would a tester catch it, or is there that before the tester catches it kind of thing?
No, we take just a regular detector. And if there's any carbon monoxide in the air, it's got a digital readout on the front. It'll tell you the levels. Okay. If it's not enough to pick up on that detector, then it's most likely not enough to interfere with any people that are living there.
All right. Yeah, I was just wondering because on that, like I said, so I guess probably somebody's homes that maybe they just don't have carbon monoxide detectors. Do you ever use them in homes that just doesn't have natural gas at all, like just to see, or?
Yeah, we'll use the carbon monoxide detector in any house because, there's other things that may give it off. We just want to rule it out. If they do have natural gas, we'll even use a natural gas detector. And really, my reasoning for that, I haven't found anything that really connects paranormal activity with gas leaks. But I really want, my goal is to, I think where we're going to get most of our evidence is in monitoring anything that's in the atmosphere, so that if anything does come about in any of the pictures, audio, video, we can say, hey, we checked for that, we checked for this, we can rule it all out.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. And now I gotta say, one of my personal favorite videos to watch of you guys is not so much always your case files, but I also like to watch what goes on your way to your case files. And you know what I'm talking about. So you have another series that you like to do for your folks called Gas, Grub, and Ghosts. I personally love it. It's a fun little guilty pleasure for me just to watch you guys hanging out, eating stuff. And I gotta say, you seem like you have this extreme love for hot peppers and things, anything hot.
I do. I love spicy food. In fact, I've even taken to making my own hot sauce some time back, trying to get the perfect blend of heat and flavor, which I haven't quite perfected yet, but I'm still working on it.
Oh, well, yeah, you'll definitely have to let me know.
Yeah.
I do like my fair share of, in fact, I'm really jealous. Have you ever seen that show Hot Ones with the wings and the celebrities on YouTube? Oh man, there was a show where this guy interviews celebrities and they have levels of wings. So by the time you get to like the highest level of wings, you're talking like 2 million Scoville units and stuff. It's pretty good. I like it. But I'm kind of jealous of that show. I was like, man, I wish I would have came up with that concept. I could have had wings every time I interviewed somebody. See, we could have wings right now.
That would be a good idea. I could go for that.
Oh.
I did make this candy cane though around Christmas time. I tried to go for the world's hottest candy cane, and I looked it up. I was like, there's nobody that made a really hot candy cane. So I took a little bit of Reaper pepper powder and mixed it with some other things and made these candy canes. And me and Will, the other guy on our team, we had a little challenge here where we saw who could who could hold it in their mouth for 5 minutes, and it was pretty brutal. It was.
Oh, good. What's the hottest you've ever had? Do you know?
As far as like hot sauce or wings.
Yeah. Do you know maybe like what was your hottest like Scoville unit like item that you had? Do you think the candy cane might have been it?
I think it might have been because as far as I know, I recently heard they found a hotter pepper, but Reaper pepper was the hottest. And we even did that one chip challenge.
Oh,
Packy, they have that one chip that you pay like $13 for, and it's Reaper pepper on that. But it didn't seem to be as hot as the candy cane.
yeah. We got my son and I is getting ready to do a Reaper challenge. We're gonna film something here. I don't want to spoil it, but it's kind of a fun little roulette kind of thing. So
That's awesome.
but anyways, all right, let's get back to the paranormal but yeah, guys, if you see any of the videos that are gas grub and ghost, you got to watch them. I mean, yeah, there might be some parts like them drop, but I'm telling you, there's a lot of fun little things in there. Jeff, I love your sense of humor. You're somewhat goofy like me, so I love it.
Thank you. Yeah, we have a good time.
So what is your favorite, like out of everything, like what is your favorite equipment to use when you go and investigate? Like what's your personal favorite equipment?
My personal favorite, and now this wouldn't be for really, because there's a lot of things that you'll try to show evidence to other people and they can poke holes in it. It's very hard to come up with something solid. Otherwise, we would have proven it by now. But for me personally, what I get the most out of is just a digital voice recorder. Because I feel with nothing else, and if the conditions are right, you're monitoring conditions right and making sure there's no contamination, there's nothing really quite as unexplainable as a solid EVP.
Right. I absolutely agree. And I think real investigators, not the fake ones, I think they know that because out of all the years, the investigations, I think the only evidence I seem to really capture truly is EVPs. I mean, there's some other things, yeah, but I'm just saying that's like seemed to be the regular staple of evidence. Would you agree somewhat to that?
I do, 100%. Yeah, and even like we like to go old school every once in a while, and we'll go out to a place, not usually a residential place, but like Linda and I, we went out to Means Bottom Bridge, and I think that's what it was called. It was an old covered bridge, and we just took a voice recorder and a camera to take some pictures, and that was pretty much it. And it was pretty cool, just kind of doing that, not worrying about anything else, and what you get is solid. There's nothing that's been tampered with, or you don't have to worry about any of the elements in the atmosphere messing with it.
Right. Now, I know some of the answers to some of these questions, but I got to ask them for everybody else. But now, do you subscribe to, using like the older style methods like dowsing rods or even like spirit boards, those type of things? Or are you all technical with just like electronic based equipment?
We usually steer away from anything that could be perceived as mystical. We definitely don't use spirit boards or anything like that. Everything we use on the investigations are equipment. It is equipment. Now we have experimented with dowsing rods before. We have experimented with them because we're looking and this is something that they use to find water and wells. So we thought maybe it can be used to find this one house where there's supposed to be some graves there. Maybe it can be used to find them. But we didn't really have any luck with them, with the dowsing rods. Now my dad claimed that he had some and they helped him find his pills. Right. So he felt, so I didn't buy them. I got to throw that out there. He felt compelled to send me a set of them. He's like, oh, you got to try these because they helped me find my pills. But they didn't help us find the graves. They are interesting though.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, like I said, for the longest time, I didn't use anything like that. And even then we still don't use spirit boards. Now I have used dowsing rods here lately, and I've been getting very good success with just using them to communicate, whether they cross the rods or straighten them. For communication devices, I've been getting very good results with them. Kind of blew my mind. I was like a huge skeptic on dowsing rods, but I gotta say, So let me skip to something personal. Would be because I know you put a lot of yourself out there for people, with Gas Grub and Ghost behind the scenes stuff and things like that, and you're definitely not shy to put yourself out there.
Right,
But
right.
what's something that people would be surprised to learn about you?
Oh, geez, that's a tough one. I really don't know if there's much that would surprise people about me. I'm kind of one of those people that what you see is what you get, kind of straightforward.
Right.
I did used to sing. That might surprise some people.
There you go. See?
I did, yeah, nothing serious, but a few nightclubs and stuff like that. But that was the extent of it.
Do you still have any vocals left? Are you gonna try to sing on any of your upcoming stuff? You gonna throw it out there?
I don't think. Well, I'll tell you what. Now that you mention it, I did a few years back.
Now your audience is gonna demand it now.
There's a song, an old country song called "Truck Driving Man," and I changed the words around to be about Crawford Road in Yorktown, and I made the song "Ghost Hunting Man."
Right.
So I put together a little video about that, and that's back there somewhere on our YouTube channel. But if you look up "Ghost Hunting Man," the Crawford Road song, you might be surprised. One way or another. It might not be a good surprise.
That's great. No, I love it. I love it. So I know this is kind of something we've already talked on, but I really got to ask this just to, so that way you have an official position on this. So how important is integrity to you, and what impact do you think it has on the field of paranormal?
I think it's first and foremost is integrity. And I think that's the problem why the paranormal field is perceived by many. I mean, we're in the field. Most of the people we talk to have experienced paranormal activity and they're hardcore believe in it. But sometimes if you step outside of that audience, there's a lot of people that still don't believe it. They're very skeptical of it. And it's because of some of the stuff that these other people are putting forth, where it's stuff that even as, I mean, of course we can't believe it, because we've been there, we've done it. And to people that don't even believe in paranormal activity, they see these antics and they're even pushed farther back. They're farther, hey, this can't be possible. So that lack of integrity, it really screws up the credibility of the field, and it pushes us farther back from getting actually accepted by any kind of, I don't want to say scientific community, but as any kind of a factual field,
Yeah. And that's tough because in this field, it's hard enough alone trying to even gain any type of credibility with the science community. And then when you have a bunch of donkeys out there, just, either whether it's Photoshop, string lines, whatever it is, whether, like I said, whether they're masking stuff and they're editing, it hurts everything, because the 1 minute that I do get something, you're going to have one of these debunking channels, which I love the debunking channels. Don't get me wrong. There's a place for like The Shape and Rick Debunks and The World of Mr. Gray. Those are some of your top 3 debunking channels, and I'm an ally with them. I feel like I am. I mean, people think that maybe they're on the opposite side of the teams, but for me, they're trying to keep people honest, or trying to keep these videos honest, and I love that. So more power to them.
Right. I love that too. And those ones that you have that are, what's that?
No. I was gonna say, but it just sucks when if you do capture like a door slam, and they're gonna be like, string, whatever. It's immediately chalked up to where they know how you did it, and it's like, no, I'm legitimately filmed the door shutting. Probably a draft, but I'm just saying.
Right. Yeah, and they'll jump all over it. And then you got the ones that are, they kind of caught on to that. Well, if I put something out there that's fake, someone's going to be able to pick it apart. So what I'll do is just have a video of me jumping at nothing and swinging the camera around, and they have stuff like that going on where you don't see anything actually in the video, but there's the constant, like you see on some popular TV shows where they're jumping at nothing and you don't see anything. The camera shakes. They get views though. That's the thing. We talked about it. We're like, we look at some of these videos and there's not really much to them except for something happens in the video. something that scare factor, that creep factor is there. And these people have like 1 million subscribers.
Yeah. And it's like a Blair Witch effect. There's somewhat of a loose scripted reality. And so, when you have that shock value and you have somebody playing musical, where I know some of them will use tactics like they'll have a second person out there. And of course, they're like, oh, I'm all by myself. Or if it's two of them, they'll have a third person, whatever. But they got that hidden body who's hiding behind the doors, slam the door. And I love how when they come into that room, they always pan weirdly to give the other person enough time to get behind them, leave, go to another room, set up while they're still panning around, going, I don't know who did that. Just all the little tricks. I know almost all the tricks, but it's just comical. But then so many people are eating it up, and you're just like, stop, folks, stop.
Yeah. And it's funny because I'll look at some of those comments and there'll be thousands of them that are like, oh, that's such awesome evidence and this, that, and the other thing. And then I'll get a comment and they'll be like, oh, I don't believe it. And it's one of our videos where nothing happened, where we sit there at the end and we say, oh, we didn't get any evidence. And then they're commenting saying, I don't believe it. Like, what don't you believe? Nothing happened.
Nothing. It sucks when you're so honest. You're just like, I'm honest. I'm doing everything honest with. But then, like you said, there's never enough evidence for them. And then, of course, the fakers, they get all the credit, but that's okay. So, all right. Let's talk locations. Now, has there been anything that's kind of scared you at all? Any locations?
Not as much. Not now. Nothing that really scared us by any means. As far as uneasy, I'll have to say more recently, there's a place that we went out to called Hidden Valley. And this is where we went out to for our, quote, Bigfoot expeditions, where we just kind of go out, hang out in the woods, camp, and, see if we see Bigfoot out there. We don't really do a whole lot of Bigfoot searching while we're out there. But it's the kind of place where there's no campsites. So you go up this mountain and down this road to this lake that sits up there, beautiful lake. And we threw on backpacks and hiked up in the woods and pitched camp. Around 1 o'clock in the morning, we start hearing these voices up the hill from our campsite. No other cars. And this is, like I said, it's out there in the middle of nowhere. So we're thinking there's got to be campsites up there or something, but we're hearing these voices all night. And it's kind of eerie. It was kind of eerie, especially when we walked up there the next day in the light of day, and it was the top of a mountain. There was nobody up there. There's no other access road up there except for where we were camping. They'd literally have to come through our campsite. So that was kind of eerie, just being out there isolated, away from everybody, and hearing these voices when there's nobody there. And at the time, it wasn't that we thought they were ghosts. We thought there was someone up there. We're like, how do these people get there? Are they coming down at our campsite at night?
Right. Yeah.
So,
I've heard multiple stories of people that when they camp, that they hear voices and stuff, very common. And I was wondering how, I know like there is some times out in the country when voices can travel pretty far, but still, I mean, that's still pretty eerie no matter how you cut it. I mean, and unless you're there and you actually experience it, people don't always understand that either.
it was out there too. Yeah.
I want to take a minute to thank everybody again in the chat. You guys, don't forget, this is the show that you can participate in. So if you have any questions, go ahead and get them in now as we enter the back half of the show, so to speak. So let's talk a little bit about a few fun things. I want to do a few fun things while we're in the midpoint of the show. Is one. I always borrow this from another team. So if you pass away, because with spirits, right? If you pass away, what's going to be your ghost outfit? What clothes are people going to see you in if they see you as a ghost?
Personally, I don't think I'm going to worry about them. I think I'm just going to leave them behind.
Right? You just feel like the naked ghost.
Yeah, I think so.
But I just don't see many naked ghosts. So I mean,
exactly. And we've talked about that. Like, why do ghosts wear clothes? And what happens if they take them off and set them down?
Right.
Do the clothes is there a pile of ghost clothes, or do they disappear when they take them off?
Can they even change outfits?
Right. I mean, right.
So
if not, I think I'd go with the standard sheet. You don't really see that. So I think that would be pretty cool to bring back, bring back the standard ghost sheet.
So Tata says, say Batman. Now, are you saying me or Jeff? Because maybe he wants you to say Batman.
Batman. Yeah, Batman would be a good one.
Oh, Batman. Say Batman. Well, he said say Batman. So I didn't know who he was talking about. Batman. I don't know. I'm Batman. I don't know who he's talking. He's telling one of us. So we both said it. There you go, Stacy. All right. Okay. This is one of my questions I love to ask every single guest, just because I like to know. And again, you don't have to put a lot of thought into this. But if you could go back in time for one day as a ghost, one day in history, just to observe, you can't interact, you can't change history. But if you just go back and observe one day, when would it be and why?
I believe I'd go back to the siege of Yorktown, the initial start of the siege when Washington and his men, the French army, surrounded the town and started the bombardment.
Okay.
That would be something to see. That was pretty much the end of the Revolutionary War. That's where independence was won. Pivotal moment that to be able to witness that would be amazing.
No, that's cool. I love that. Very original. Nobody said that. So awesome. We had a few Teslas. We've had a few pyramids. I was at the original pyramid. I wanted to see one day of building the pyramids. But
that'd be something. You might see aliens there.
See, that's the thing. That's what I'm talking about. If I'm not saying I'm like huge alien guy, I'm just saying if I could just witness one day of the pyramids being built, it's going to answer some things, I think, for me. Whether it's aliens, whether it's giants, whether it's some other unknown third thing, who knows? But I just feel like that one day I'm gonna unlock some things.
Right.
Clarify. But yeah, Tata did clarify. He was talking about he wanted for your ghost outfit. He wanted you to say Batman. He was hoping you were going to say Batman. But his text came in delayed when you were thinking about it. So. So what do you got going on coming up in the future? Do you got anything that you wanted to shout out about, or do you have what kind of plans you got going on?
We're looking at doing some more outings, some more what we call our expeditions, going back to Hidden Valley for one. We've been there twice. And there's another park that we want to go. Actually, it's a state forest way out in Pennsylvania. And I'm going to butcher the name of it. It's Michaux, Michaux State Forest, or Michaux. I believe it's French. I'm not 100% sure, though. But this is a place where there's been a lot of dogman sightings since way back in the almost colonial times. So I think it would be pretty cool. It'd be a different aspect of the paranormal that we've never really pursued before. And I love camping. I love being out there in the woods. So to go out there and see if we can find any evidence of this would be pretty cool.
So there's one thing I wanted to also touch a little bit is I noticed too in some of your videos and even like behind the scenes that you like to camp. So you kind of almost take your whole team. Do you force them all to go camping? Like, hey guys, we're going to go camping before this investigation, or do they just want to go and say like, is it just a money saver? Well, you said you love it, but what's going on with camping?
I love to do it. So I do it every chance I get when the weather's halfway decent. The other guys, they're just kind of along for the ride. It's camping, and if it's not camping, I'll put them up in a 2-star hotel, just to be nice. But other than that, I think they take camping over the hotels that I pick.
Right. Hey, I get it. Some of these places. Okay. So Bob has a question. Bob Fountain, he of course writes for Paranormal Underground magazine, and he wants to know, Jeff, what percentage of accuracy would you rate psychics against your paranormal gear?
I would say in my time, I've encountered very few psychics that were specific. Most of them seem to be self-proclaimed psychics that would come in with very vague answers and didn't really give the people anything from the investigation. Another thing is if we're looking for evidence, and I'm not at this point, I don't think I'm even looking for evidence at this point. I think we've seen so much a result from helping people that I get gratification out of seeing people be able to rest in their houses now.
Right.
But if you're looking for evidence, a psychic can tell you what they see, what's going on in the house. But if you take that to the scientific community and say, yeah, this is what's happening because this person saw it, they're not going to believe it. I think we need to stick to the equipment, and we need the equipment and we don't need high-tech equipment, because a lot of these spirits are being seen just with the naked eye. These people are seeing them in their daily lives.
Right.
So the more basic equipment that we can catch evidence with, I think, would be the more solid evidence that we could get.
Yeah, that sounds good. And Stacy Tatalongo says Rougarou hunting in Pennsylvania sounds fun. So he's from down in the Cajun area. So they call them Rougarous there. I guess their version. We did a show on him. It was pretty cool. Stacy's a good guy. But yeah, Dogman. So that's another thing I wanted where I was kind of leading with the whole camping thing is since you're a camper and paranormal investigator, I'm sure you've got some theories on Sasquatch, Dogman, and Mothman, things like that. So what is kind of maybe some of your thoughts on are they supernatural? Are they some unknown species? What do you think?
I personally, and throughout our team, we have different theories. Some have talked about them being interdimensional beings and things of the sort. I think they're actual species that once they're discovered, if they're ever discovered, they won't be paranormal anymore. And that's the sad thing about it, because once they discover Bigfoot, then I won't be able to really go out looking for them anymore. Sometimes the dream is better than the dream obtained,
Right.
Someone said that, some philosopher, but
right.
I think they're actual, like I said, I think they're actual just species that haven't been discovered. And people talk about, why haven't we discovered them yet? If they're out here, there's people all over the place. Just in Virginia alone, there's some dense woods. There's some areas where people rarely ever go. And these beings, being intelligent, to what degree, I don't know, but they could very easily dispose of their dead before that someone found them out there in the woods. They bury them, or theories that they leave them up in trees. Animals come and take them and eat every part of them. And there's a lot. I mean, I've been camping a lot. I've never seen a dead bear.
Right.
So that's kind of what I say when people say, I've never seen a dead Bigfoot,
Right. And that's true. But now we have found bear skulls, though, I think. But I personally never. And I agree. I've always been on the fence. I think that because I do a lot of biblical research and scripture research, and even with the hybrids that walk this earth according to the Bible, we didn't get them all. That's why after the flood, there was the book of Joshua and things like that. Joshua was like a giant killer. There was still these hybrid, creatures out there. And so there's that theory that, yeah, some of them are still around, sort of that supernatural side of things. I'm kind of on the fence because I'm like you. I think wasn't like the gorilla wasn't even discovered up until like 100 years ago or something.
I think there was some kind of gorilla. Yeah.
Just gorillas in general, I think, weren't even discovered for, like I said, like 100 years or something. I mean, it was a fairly recent in time discovery for something as common as like gorillas. So,
right.
And I agree. It would make sense that all of a sudden, maybe now we discover the Sasquatch or something, Bigfoot, and it's like, oh, look where this guy's been hiding, and now all of a sudden it's becoming common. Who knows?
And there's a lot of people that see them. Especially you talk to hunters. There's a lot of hunters that have seen him out there in the woods. Some of us have pretty close encounters with him.
So have you gone on Bigfoot hunts? Like specifically, you're like, you know what? I know I'm normally kind of the ghost hunter guy, but I want to go do a Bigfoot hunt. Do you like to do that also?
Yeah. Now there's a lot of different theories about the appropriate way to hunt for Bigfoot. When we say Bigfoot hunt, we're not out there trying to shoot them. We're just out there trying to get a picture of them, right?
Like ghost hunting, yeah.
Yeah. We're not out there trying to shoot the ghosts, but we go out there, and some people actively track. We look for any evidence around. We'll hike throughout the woods and stuff like that. But the woods are so big. So one of the theories that we think is best, which hasn't worked yet, is to just have a campfire, make some noise, cook some food, and kind of get them to come out of the woods out of curiosity to check out our site, because we've heard a lot of people talking about that they'd just be sitting out in the woods having a campfire and joking and talking with their friends, and he'll come right up on their campsite. So we kind of take that mindset, maybe let him come to us for the most part. Plus it's fun just hanging out by the campfire. Much funner than trekking through the woods in the middle of the night.
Right. And see, that's the thing. I don't think I've ever specifically ever went out on a Bigfoot hunt. Now, I've been in areas where, there could have been, suspects in wooded areas, things like that. We have, even just here in the Bristol, Virginia area, we've got some hollers that I think they even filmed one of the Bigfoot episodes. One of those Bigfoot hunting episodes was here, filmed in one of the hollers. So I know it's apparently around here in the Appalachians here. So, but Bob has a question, and he says another question. He says, Jeff, we can always count on Bob. He loves questions. He loves to question the guests. But he says, Jeff, when you encounter an entity that asks for help, do you try to help them move on or leave it up to Clergy?
Yeah, well, we often try to help them. We try to help them move on it's rare that we'll actually seem to encounter that where one blatantly asks for help. There have been cases, I'm trying to think of a specific one, where we try to get more information. Say we do the EVP session, we review it, the word help comes across. That's really not a whole lot for us to go on. So what we'll do is we'll go back to that location and we'll try to ask questions. We'll try to find out, what do you need help with? What can we do? Is there any kind of a message that you're trying to get across, and try to give that spirit every opportunity to communicate. But unfortunately, it's never like it seems to be in the movies, where they get more than one answer from the spirit. He just that one word that comes across sometimes, and then no follow-up answers.
So since you're an EVP guy, I got to ask, where's your stance on like ITC devices versus EVP, like the spirit boxes versus like when I say old school audio recorder, where you have to go back later and listen to everything?
Yeah, I definitely prefer the recorders, like I said, and we use the spirit box, the actual spirit, the PSB7. It's been interesting. There's a lot of radio chatter that comes through, and there's also audio pareidolia that can happen. So if you're listening to it and you're expecting a name, you're going to hear a name because your brain kind of puts together that nonsense noise. So when we use that, what we try to do is put a splitter into it. And the splitter will go to a speaker, and the other end will go through headphones that Linda will wear, so she won't hear the questions. And we feel if she's not biased by the questions, she doesn't hear them, and she hears a direct response come through there and blurts it out, that's a direct response to our question, perhaps it's a little more valid. So that's kind of what we like to do when we use the spirit box. But for example, we went up to a beautiful place, the Parkgate Plantation, old historic place going way back to the first settlers to come inland. The whole night we would do the EVP sessions, and then we'd stop and we'd go down to the kitchen and we'd sit down and review them. We got so much coming through that we didn't even go to the spirit box during the course of that night until maybe in the wee hours of the morning. I think we tried it once, but when we're rolling with the EVPs, we just keep going with them if we can.
Okay.
And they weren't like clear. Don't get me wrong, they weren't like clear, like voices constantly talking to us, but they were anomalies, vocal anomalies that were coming through that we couldn't pinpoint where they were coming from.
Yeah, and I think, and I'll try to explain sometimes the class system to some of my viewers. I do talk about class C, class B, class A. I don't really get hung up on it too much. Like classifying EVPs, pretty much like if I get everybody saying, look, this said this, that's a class A. When you get, most of them is going to be that B or C. And like you said, there's a lot of C, like class C, that it's something, you just can't make it out. So it's there. It's something
Right.
that's not normal. It's not natural. It's hard for people to understand that. And you can almost tell when the voice is in that layer. It's in that layer. It's not. It's hard to explain. I try to tell people that all the time. It's like it's something you can't. You have to experience and learn and listen to where you'll be able to identify somebody whispering into the microphone versus an actual EVP, which uses it's in the layer. It's actually in that static layer.
Yeah, and that's where Linda comes in. She's very good with that because I'll miss a lot of stuff when I'm listening to it. It's got to be pretty clear for me to catch it. So she'll pick that stuff out.
Than me, that's for sure. I don't know if it's just as I'm getting older and certain frequencies, certain things or something. But my wife, she seems to be the little more of like, did you hear that? Go back, and then I'll start picking it up. So usually when we do like evidence review, she's like the first one to really help me out with it. So I get it. Bob says, when I've encountered a spirit saying, help me, I ask if they know they are dead. Once an entity knows it's dead, the problem often is resolved. So that's a good tip. Bob also has a paranormal team that they're very scientific. So if you're not familiar with them, Jeff, they're very, very scientific, much like yourself, just by the book. I mean, he has amazing reports too. So, which, by the way, let's take a quick moment. I just wanted to shout out to everybody. Paranormal Underground magazine. If you're not subscribed to it, go subscribe to it. Go look them up. It's Paranormal Underground. Wait, that's Paranormal. Let me pull it up here real quick. I had it for a second. There we go. ParanormalUnderground.net. So go there and you can sign up for free. Tell them I sent you. Hell, tell them Jeff sent you. Don't matter. Tell them somebody sent you, and they will give you 1 year for free, and it'll show up every first of the month in your email. It's a digital magazine, fully illustrated, fully colored. Guys, it's awesome. Jeff, I don't know if you subscribe to Paranormal Underground magazine, but you should. I'm not trying to put you on the spot. You don't have to answer that. But they're awesome. Definitely go check them out, man. It's full deal. And I think, honestly, we need to try to get your team on the cover because, again, you're one of the good teams, and we need to
appreciate that.
We need to represent. So that's why I said, man, I'm all about people that's not faking it. So trust me, you guys definitely go watch their videos and everything. I wanted to ask you, what's like one of your, because, like as investigators, we all have memorable cases, for one reason or another, whether it's funny, whether it's tragic, whatever. What's one of your most memorable cases? What always sticks out to you when you look back over the years?
Oh, boy. I'm going to have to make sure it's an appropriate one here.
It doesn't have to be.
All right.
We're all adults here.
Okay. All right. Well, in that case, I'll go with this one, which if you haven't seen, it might be the one that you want to watch at. It's the first Paranormal Case Files video that we did, right when we first decided to put it together in that format. I got a call from a lady here in Virginia, and she said that she had a spirit in her house, and she was wondering how to pursue a relationship with the spirit. Well, as the conversation evolved, it turned out that she believed it was the spirit of Bill Paxton that was in her house. She had been friends with him on Facebook. He passed away, and supposedly through a Ouija board, the spirit revealed himself to be Bill Paxton. So we go up there and the investigation, and she says that she actually is pregnant by the spirit. Okay. So she's using the Ouija board and, showing how he responds and how he talks to her and asking questions. And she mentioned something about, hey, well, if we go back, he's active in the bedroom. So we go back there, and I didn't really pick up on everything she said. I was busy working the camera and watching the equipment, all this other stuff. So I was like, yeah, whatever we got to do to invoke the spirit, to get him to show himself. So we go back there, and we're start up the spirit box. She climbs up on the bed, and she's like, this is where he lays right here. And a little bit in the spirit box session, she starts going at it full on, as if the ghost is there behind her. which was something I'd never seen before. I'd never seen a spirit do that to a living woman, especially not a famous spirit, you know. So
Right.
that was a memorable case. We were all standing there in the bedroom. She was going at it. We were running the spirit box, and what could we do but continue with the questioning, right?
So I guess I always get those confused. So I guess Bill Paxton turned into, what is it, a succubus? Is that the ones that have sex with people, or is it? There's incubus and succubus, right?
I believe incubus is the male and succubus is the female.
Okay, so he'd be an incubus then. Yeah, I couldn't remember. I always get him confused sometimes because I really don't deal with those terms a whole lot, you know.
Right. It's not common. It's not common. Right. We've had a few, but not a lot, and none to that extent where it was going on right there, you know.
So there you go, Bill Paxton, the incubus.
Yeah,
you heard it here. What's been one of the toughest cases that you faced, like as far as just difficulty over and all, you know?
There was a case out in Gloucester, and this was a case. The people were renting a house, and it was across the street from where a murder happened back in the 90s. A girl came back with her fiance and fiance's friend, basically murdered her family. The mother came home. One of the guys, she was trying to talk the daughter out of it, and one of the guys came up and cracked her in the head with a barbell, and they thought she was dead. Well, they cracked her skull. She came crawling across the street to this house, the house we were investigating, and the guy brought her in there and laid her on the floor. Well, here we are years later. The couple move in there with their mother-in-law, and she's seeing some strange things. The mother-in-law, the couple has all kinds of strange things happening throughout the house. I won't go into all the details, but the main one was she sees the spirit of this man in the house. And she described this man in detail. She's talking to the neighbor that lives in the murder house, and she says, look, I have to talk to you about the activity that's been going on in this whole cul-de-sac here. Neighbors moved out, just left paintbrushes in the bucket and everything, left because of how haunted it is. Wow. So she's going to talk to the neighbor, and she falls down, can't breathe, tries to call her daughter. The daughter's phone rings, but the daughter can't hear her. So the daughter luckily called 911. She was rushed to the hospital. Her lungs filled up with fluid. They couldn't explain it. Well, the interesting thing was the guy, the father across the street that was stabbed, when he was stabbed, he died because his lungs filled up with fluid.
Wow.
The man that she saw in the house was actually still alive. The spirit of the man that she saw in the house was still alive. And it was one of the guys that committed the murder who was locked up in jail. So she was seeing this living ghost in her house. They brought in a priest. The priest went down into the basement where they felt a lot of the activity was centered around. And the priest wouldn't step off the bottom step. He sprinkled the holy water from there. He came upstairs. He told them, you got to leave. He said, this house is it's empty. That's the words he used to describe it. It's empty. There's nothing here. You don't want to stay here. So they called us in, and they were already dead set on leaving. Definitely some interesting things while we were there, but the most interesting had to do with afterwards. And this was the only time when something seemed to follow. Linda was here by herself. I went up to visit my dad shortly after the case, and she's listening to the audio from it. And there's some voices coming through that we actually picked up on the audio that didn't sound too friendly. And right over here, as she's listening to it, someone walks by. She said this dark figure just walks by in the house. And this thing would come and go. She said she was in the bedroom, and it was just standing there in the door. Like she didn't see it in the door, but she could just feel it there in the doorway. So she started playing like the audio Bible and doing some prayers and stuff, and left that audio Bible praying the whole day while she was at work the next day, and came back, and whatever was here, I guess, was gone. But definitely a tough case because those people ended up moving. And then later on, the guy developed lung problems. He ended up getting lung cancer just out of the blue. So it was a tough case because of how it was affecting these people. It kind of just riddled this family with health problems that none of the doctors could explain how they came down with it.
Man. Yeah, I would say that definitely sounds similar to a few cases I've had. There's a lot of times when you're in the world of paranormal, you're always around tragedy. trauma, things like that. It's rough. Um, now I want to get to a few more chat questions. I don't want to miss people. So, um, Tata says, Jeff, who's your favorite Scooby character?
Oh, that's a tough one. I'm gonna have to go with the dog himself.
All right, Scooby. All right, yeah, Scooby's awesome.
Yeah.
Bob says, Jeff, what was the earliest you encountered a paranormal event, and did your family believe you?
When I was a kid, and it was an isolated experience. It wasn't like I always saw this stuff. Um, there was I was in this little alcove that went out to the backyard, and I heard the dog in there at the door. So I went in to let the dog out, and it's dark in there. I can't see anything. So I go and out on the patio, the porch light was on. So I go over there to open the door, and I feel the dog like brushing against my leg as he's waiting to get out. And I open the door, and the light from the patio shines in. The dog's not there. So I step out back just out of curiosity to see what's going on. And the dog comes running around from the other side of the house. He was already outside. So that was my first paranormal experience where I actually felt something or saw something firsthand. It was kind of weird. Maybe the spirit of a dog. I thought maybe it was the spirit of the dog that I lost when I was younger, still there in the house.
Yeah, that's it's interesting. I actually can share a quick little dog story myself because this morning, believe it or not, this morning, we had recently lost our small little Yorkie. She was only 5.5 and passed away in her sleep, and we lost her just with like a couple months ago. Real, and we had her since she was a little peanut. And so I've got a husky also. But this morning I woke up and I heard the husky start barking. I thought, well, maybe the one kid's here to do some lawn work. And just at that time, when he started barking, I heard a couple little barks that sounded exactly like our Yorkie. But there's none of the neighbors have any kind of like little dog, or they don't even really have any dogs around us. But it was like right there, and I'm like, huh, okay, maybe did I imagine it? I don't know, but there was a couple quick little Yorkie barks, and that was it. So, anyways, that was my little story. I thought I'd throw in
Oh,
there.
wow.
Now, did you ever tell your family like when you had the experience, or?
Yeah, they didn't really react to it at all. I'm not sure if they believed me or not. My dad was always big in the paranormal and watched all the shows about aliens and ghosts and everything else. So that's probably what sparked my interest in it initially. So they were pretty open to that stuff, but it wasn't the kind of thing that I went like running upstairs or anything. I was just kind of puzzled. It's like, what in the world could that have been?
That's awesome, though. But yeah, as we start to wrap this up and get ready to end the show, if you guys have any last minute questions, go ahead and try to maybe get some in there. Jeff, what about any shout outs? You got any shout outs for anybody as we get ready to get toward the end here?
Shout outs, just guess to the rest of the team here, appreciate all they do and traveling with me all across the state to these different places every other weekend. And sometimes the places are not as desirable as others, but they're good sports about it.
Awesome. If you guys find yourself out this way toward Bristol, Virginia, Bristol, Tennessee, hey, make sure you hit us up. We got lots of places, lots of things to do around here. So we definitely, I'll be making my way around some things. I've got some announcements coming up myself. I will be hitting out to the surrounding areas. But you guys are pretty far. You guys are, I think you guys are like east side of Virginia, right?
Yeah, we're all the way out on the East Coast,
right?
The east side of Virginia, about Yorktown area.
So it's very far, but now I could have an excuse to go out that way. My mom does live out toward south of Richmond, so that at least would get me close.
That's right.
Closer, like a stopping point. So I have an excuse. I could make my way out there. But yeah, if you guys ever do find your way out there to this area, like I said, make sure you hit us up. But folks, I hope you guys enjoyed visiting Jeff Santos with Virginia Paranormal Investigations. I was going to say VAPI. So VAPI, Virginia Paranormal Investigation. Guys, go look them up if you haven't already. Go look up his YouTube, subscribe to these guys. Remember, these guys are real paranormal. Okay. They're not going to fake it. You're not going to go see that stuff you're going to see with all that, fakeness out on YouTube. And I almost wanted to say some names, but I'm going to keep it nice today. But you know what I'm saying? So, Jeff, I appreciate what you guys are doing. Keep up the good work. Keep up the good fight on keeping paranormal honest. Folks, we'll see you next week. Jeff, stick around. Remember, folks, seek the truth. We'll see you next week.